Greetings and salutations, and welcome to the Onyx Tavern. This is your host, the Barkeep, today bringing you episode number 12. Before we get started with today's episode, I just want to thank, first of all, everybody who watched my last video on Bandai of America. I've got over 400 views in 2 days on that, and I'm just really excited that there are people who are now watching my programming. There are people who are commenting on it. I don't necessarily understand all the comments, but nevertheless, people are viewing, and I'm just excited about that. And I hope those of you who did see episode 11 will go back and watch some of my older episodes, and of course you are watching today. And of course, thank you to all my new subscribers on the channel. I'm planning on having a little bit more content come on out. Now that people are starting to watch, I want to try and make this a little bit more frequent than I have been, of course. But again, thanks to everybody who's watched. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. What we're doing today is basically a discussion on the Mighty Morphin Alien Rangers. Basically the season right between the third season of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers and Power Rangers Zeo. It is that gap that bridges those two seasons. And basically what I want to go ahead and talk about is not so much the Alien Rangers, like a whole season discussion I would do like on RPM with Raptor or anything. But what I have noticed for years and years is that people just don't seem to like the Alien Rangers for whatever reason. I really kind of thought that there was kind of a hatred for it, but since posting up on Ranger Board, I've gotten a few comments from people, and a lot of them seem to be repeating comments. But the thing I've noticed is that people don't hate the Alien Rangers. They just either are annoyed by them by a number of reasons, which we'll get into here, or some people just completely forgot about them. Which is understandable because the marketing by Saban and Disney was never that big, to be quite honest. I mean, I was really surprised in Forever Red when Oriko showed up, and I am surprised now that the Alien Rangers are going to be featured in the Legends War or the Super Mega War, or whatever it's called over in Power Rangers right now. I don't think there's an official name. But nevertheless, I really enjoyed the Alien Rangers. I liked the concept of them. And what I want to go ahead and get into is kind of the comments I've gotten from people, why people didn't like it, kind of discuss each one, explain each one kind of one by one, and go for there. So I just got kind of a short list right here. The biggest complaint that everybody has been saying about the Alien Rangers was that they had horrible voices and that their makeup was terrible. Now this kind of goes into the alien nature of them. First of all, I will point out, I don't know where they got the idea of, having another set of Rangers from space, nonetheless, to come and assist the Rangers. I think that was really creative, really interesting, but people were kind of getting off on the fact that, first of all, they're an aquatic species. That they always need to rehydrate, that they have this voice that makes them sound like they're underwater. Now, that's all granted, I understand the criticism there. I mean, one of the things I liked about when I first saw them, and this is back, you have to remember this is back in 95, I was probably about 10, 11 years old at the time and all that, I thought they were cool. Because this was at a time where Master Val has turned back time on the Earth. We don't know what the Rangers are doing, and suddenly a brand new team of Rangers show up. That is awesome. I thought that was cool, and they had these awesome voices. They actually looked like aliens. They weren't humans. And this really was the first time since A Friend in Need that we kind of went out to another alien world. We saw another culture. We saw another species, and they were just completely different and unique. I can't even think of a Star Trek race that is like that. Maybe these in the aquatic share some similarities, but how many other species do you know that have that type of voice? They're aquatic. They can, teleport at will and stuff, which I don't know if that's a species thing or if they're using a piece of technology for that. But I liked the voices. I thought they were fine. The makeup, to be honest, I'm not quite sure what else they could have done with that. I mean, it's not like that they had the budget Star Trek did to do like Klingon makeup or Cardassian makeup or something. But if it was a bunch of Cardassians that were Power Rangers, that would be an interesting premise to a show, I think. But I think, it was what they could do with what they were trying. Basically, as they wanted to do aliens. I don't know, again, what compelled them to do the bulbous heads and all that kind of stuff. But it was enough to where you could tell that they were aliens, and I thought it was really good. Yeah, I guess if we ever do a, quote, reboot or a continuation of Power Rangers, they will change the makeup slightly to make it look a little bit more real. I don't know what that means exactly, but they'll change it like they did with the Klingons in the Star Trek movies. I guess the Cyclones in Battlefield Earth are different than they were in the book. They had to go ahead and modify those to actually look, I don't know, good or whatever it is that they had to do with that. But yeah, that's the biggest complaint, and I can understand. I just think it's, I think it was pretty cool. I didn't think it was that big of a deal, of course. The next biggest issue that I'm seeing is that they keep complaining that none of them had any character outside of Sestro and Delphine, which is granted, because unfortunately the season only lasted 10 episodes, and the focus was not meant to be on them. The focus was on the Rangers themselves, from defeating Master Vile, obtaining the Zeo Crystal, and then moving to transition into Zeo. All the episodes focused on the Rangers, Rocky in Mexico, Adam in Korea, Kat in Australia, everybody going every place to find their Zeo Crystal, because that's how the episodes were done. Like, half of them would be the Zeo Quest, and then the other half would be the Alien Rangers fighting. And the only people that got the screen time was, again, Delphine and Sestro. Sestro got his screen time and his character development out of Billy. Now, this was at a time where Power Rangers, like, a certain color is representative of certain traits. So that's why I think we got these two. Because, one, Billy was always a smart guy for those 3 years. When it came into this season, they had another Blue Ranger. They wanted them to connect with Billy. And, like, okay, so he's the smart one, too, because he's the Blue Ranger, I guess. So because he got to interact the most with Billy, especially when Billy became an adult, then yeah, I can definitely see where character came from there. And then the odd thing is that Delphine is the White Ranger and the leader. Now, this was very unique, of course, back at the time. This is the first woman to lead a Ranger team. Now, I believe in Kaku Ranger was the same deal, is that the White Ranger was the leader and the Red Ranger was like the field commander or something. I'd have to go back and watch Kaku Ranger to confirm that directly. But it was very unique for Power Rangers, and I just wonder if the only reason they did it was because she was white. Because as soon as Tommy took over into Season 2, the White Ranger was the leader. It was no longer the Red Ranger as the leader. So I don't know why Origo wasn't the leader. Not saying that he should have been, but it was just kind of one of those things that's like, it's a little off. When you first saw it, it was pretty cool. Looking back, I don't see what the explanation was for it, but it did give us a little bit more chance to see her and talk to her. I guess it would be and the kind of things like if it was Orico, people would be like, well, we have a chick back there, but we're not having her do anything. So I could see that as a definite issue. But to the character thing, yeah. Because I watched a couple of clips before recording this, and I couldn't tell you a thing about Titus or Corcus. Origo, I couldn't give you much information about him. Again, the only characters that I could talk about is Sestro and Delphine, but there is little to go ahead and talk about. If they had given them more than 10 episodes, or even introduced them back in the third season before they went into the Alien Ranger season, then yeah, I could definitely see them developing the characters, maybe working side on side with the Rangers, and probably utilize the Kaku Ranger footage a lot more than they did. Because the thing about Season 3 that I liked the most was that it was most of the time devoid of a lot of Sentai footage because of mixing 3 different shows together, and really it was just the Zords they were using. Now, when they did do Alien Rangers, they were pretty much using the Kaku Ranger footage straight up. No more Zoo Ranger, no more Die Ranger, just straight up Kaku Ranger. There we are. We have the Rangers and all that, but again, no development on the character because they were introduced pretty late. I mean, they were I think they were introduced in the very last episode of Mighty Morphin, or the very first of Alien. I'd have to double check that, but I believe it was Alien Rangers of Aquatars when we first got to know them. But I think it was in the Master Vial. The last episode of Mighty Morphin is when we saw them like on the viewing screen. Zoran's like, "Hey, we're gonna call up the Alien Rangers." So yeah, no character, completely understand it, and I will agree with that. To a lesser extent, people said that it was too short at 10 episodes. Again, by the nature of it, I guess it was because it was the arc and it wasn't focused on the Alien Rangers. I can understand that. I would say that I wish there was more in there for them to go ahead and do. Because what I find interesting is back in the day when VHS was still a thing, I would be able to go to, I think it was Red Giraffe at the time, and they had the Zeo Quest on VHS, which I thought was really, really odd. I was like, you got the entire Zeo Quest on one VHS. Because even at that time, I was like, how do you get 10 episodes on the one VHS? You get 2 at maximum most of the time. And come to find out, what it was is that they had cut all of the Alien Ranger stuff in, except for the beginning and the end, and it was nothing but them just traveling in time. So no Alien Ranger. The Alien Rangers were in there to send them off in the time portal, and then they were there to say goodbye to them at the end. That was really annoying to me, as I really like the Alien Rangers. I was hoping I was getting all 10 episodes on the VHS, but that wasn't the case. But that is a testament to how short it was, that you could really cut out all the Alien Ranger stuff and put all the Zeo Crystal hunting stuff onto one VHS. So I completely get that. I understand. I wish they could have expanded out to, what are they doing now? They're doing 20 episodes for a season now for Samurai and Super Samurai and Megaforce, and then eventually Super Megaforce. They could have easily stretched this out to another 20 episodes, another 10 episodes to make 20, and probably cut back on a couple of episodes from Mighty Morphin Season 3, particularly episodes like Rita's PETA, Chimp in the Wall, kind of those fluff filler episodes. They really just don't kind of belong in there with the tone they were trying to set with the third season. But that's another story to get into. So yeah, it was too short. I definitely agree with that they could have done more with the Zeo Quest. They could have extended out, given more the Alien Rangers to do and things like that. This was something else that was kind of mentioned up on the Ranger board, is like they were just there to sell toys. This is something I always disagree with when they said they introduced this thing to sell toys and all that. And I'll give a good example of this. Is like, okay, so when Season 3 came in, we first kicked off with the movie. Bandai was selling the Mighty Morphin movie merchandise. They were selling the shiny Ranger figures. I think the Oozman, Ivan Ooze, the movie Megazord, which was really just the Kaku Ranger Zord, but packaged as the movie. It wasn't anything like it. So they were selling all those at first. Then they sell the Season 3, which was pretty much like monster figures, the Ninja Ranger things, and stuff like that. Then when we get to Alien Rangers, the only thing I ever remember seeing in their toy line were the Alien Ranger figures, the 5 Rangers, and the Battleborgs. That was it. The Shark Cycles were given to the Mighty Morphin Rangers, the Shogun Zords, the Ninja Zords, all those things. They didn't even sell the weapons to the Alien Rangers. They didn't have an Alien Ranger Morpher and stuff like that. And it was about this time that, of course, they were going into Zeo and all that. New Zeo was planning on releasing O-Ranger figures as the Zeo figures. And for them to say that they sell more toys, if they actually sold more that had to do with the Alien Rangers, had the Alien Rangers packaging on it, then yeah, I would definitely go ahead and believe that. I would have to probably check online to see what else, but again, I think all they sold that I ever saw at my Toys R Us growing up were the 5 Alien Rangers and the 5 Battleborgs. That was it. Everything else that was sold was in Season 3 of Power Rangers with Ninja and all that. The only straight up Alien Ranger stuff were those 10 items. So yeah, I don't necessarily believe that they were there to sell more toys. If you took out the Kaku Rangers and like maybe give the Rangers like instead of their ninja forms, you give them the Kaku suits or something like that, or instead of the Dino suits. Yeah, I could say that they were trying to sell more toys, but the whole reason I think of the ninja thing was they gave them another morph form to sell the toys in that. That's the only time I believe that is a valid argument for at least this era of Power Rangers. Because, if they don't make a toy of it, or release it, then it's not really there to sell toys, I think. Yeah, and I'll get into that discussion much later and all that. Okay, the next thing I'm seeing on here, this was something else that was mentioned, was their constant need to rehydrate. Yeah, if if they were like Vulcans or something like that, it would be fine because, there'd be no real consequence and stuff and blah, blah, blah and all that. They would just go on and do their thing. But the fact that they're aquatic and they can constantly need to rehydrate, I could see how that could be annoying, and I can see how it also would work for the plot. If they were straight up like Aquaman kind of things, like they were Atlanteans or something, and they did need to rehydrate, maybe that would make it too easy. But they are from a planet that's like, I think it would say is 99% water or something like that. So they're constantly around water. But it's also going to be like pure water and stuff, which is, I know we as humans have to drink fresh water. We can't drink salt water. But it doesn't seem like salt water is a big thing to them. It's just as long as it's not polluted. And I don't know if that was trying to go into some sort of environmental message. I thought about this time in the 90s, we kind of stopped with the environmental stuff since Captain Planet was no longer on, and we were kind of getting past all that stuff. But in any case right here, I think it was kind of a crutch that maybe the writers used to get them out of commission for whatever reason. It ties in great to Hog Day Afternoon, the final 2 episodes of the season, where the Hydro Hog starts draining all the water from Earth, which, 1, is a bad thing for the Earth as is anyway, and 2, the fact that the Alien Rangers are a commission does put it on our Rangers, who are children now, and I'll get into that one, to help them to do something, to be proactive. And those who came back from the Zeo Quest, this is the first time they've actually done anything besides the Zeo Quest itself. So maybe it was to get them back into the story, that they knew they had to go ahead and do that. Yeah, there were some things like the car wash, and that was kind of goofy and all that, but I don't know, it's a real alien concept that they are disabled and they have to go ahead and refresh themselves and all that. But I definitely understand the criticism there. Maybe if they didn't do that, we could have gotten more characters because, if they just stood there and did nothing, there isn't any character development. But if they could just like talk and go out to someplace, yeah, I could definitely see where character development would have played in. So yeah, that's something that they could have fixed. Now, the next thing really isn't anything about the Alien Rangers themselves, but just really the concept of the season, that the Power Rangers themselves were children. Again, I don't know what compelled them to do this. Somebody clarify me, but were they like filming Alien Rangers and Zeo at the same time, and they just couldn't get the actors to be in Alien Rangers other than Billy since he has a smaller role? That would be the only reason that I could think they would do that. But the whole children, you can find a way to disable the Rangers in other ways than make them children, like trap them in amber or something like that. But yeah, I did find it kind of odd, like they made them all children. The child actors sometimes looked like the Rangers, and sometimes they didn't. They didn't have their same mannerisms. They didn't talk, which is understandable for child actors and stuff like that. But it just kind of didn't work for me. I didn't understand why they did that, why they couldn't just be adults or something like that and go on these Zeo quests. Because, ultimately they spent a lot of needless money they didn't need to hire those child actors. But again, if it was indeed the case that they were doing the Zeo thing and all that, there are other ways you could have done done the filming for Zeo, not have the Rangers in there, like they were kidnapped and being held prisoner by Zed and Vile or something like that, which I think would have been a little bit more interesting, because I've always said, instead of sending Jason, Zach, and Trini to the peace conference, have them be kidnapped by Zed, and the rest of the series was trying to rescue Jason, Trini, and Zach from Lord Zed. You could have done something like that. But again, the circumstances, who knows what they were. I mean, we'd have to ask one of the original writers or producers what was going on budget-wise and all that. But it was really annoying to kind of see them as children. I mean, everybody says Justin's the first child ranger, but I was like, no, we got these guys from Alien Rangers and stuff. So, yeah, I could definitely see that. The next thing, the last thing I kind of going to go ahead and mention that was told to me was that the season was lacking in an overall story arc, which this person didn't really go into a lot of detail on, or pretty much did. But what I'm understanding from it is that there wasn't much to do in the season other than the Zeo quest. That the Alien Rangers didn't have anything to do, that they didn't have any type of overcoming obstacles. They were just there, and then they were gone. I could definitely go ahead and understand that. I can see that as an issue for people in this season. Here's the thing, is that the main point of the Alien Rangers season was to get the Zeo Crystal so the Rangers could restore time and go back and do their thing. And then for the Alien Rangers to defend Earth while the Rangers are gone. And I'm going to get into something different here with the whole Alien Rangers defending Earth thing. But I could see that, it goes back to the fact that it was 10 episodes. It was too short for them to really do anything of great substance. Yeah, the Rangers probably learned something about their past on the Zeo quest. None of that, unfortunately, translated when we went over to Zeo. Rocky's Spanish heritage never played a role in the series after that. Adam's Korean heritage played a part in the series, played part in season 3, but never in Zeo. Actually, wasn't there an episode like they mentioned he was Jewish or something? Or somebody was Jewish and he was helping them celebrate Hanukkah. So scratch that, my bad there. But yeah, nothing that they've learned carried over. Except one exception would be David Trueheart, Tommy's brother, but that never went into any real great depth. It was interesting to see. I really liked that part. That was like the best part of the Zeo Crystal search, was the whole Tommy's brother thing, that part coming back. And they did borrow some stuff when they went to Zeo, where they brought the Alien Rangers back. They set up the plot point about the command center and Billy couldn't be the Gold Ranger, the age thing, and all that. So, I mean, there were things that were set up in Alien Rangers that paid off in Zeo, but there wasn't enough, I think, to really kind of justify some of the things that they did. So, yeah, the arc was lacking. Again, nothing was done with the Alien Rangers. They are static characters. They were the same when we first met them as to the last time we said them. The only person that even changed probably was Sestro, and that's because he became a little bit more... I think Trider said Zeo, when in doubt, rip them out, and Sestro had that kind of like... He smashes the console in Rangers of Two Worlds, and that fixes the problem. That's something that he learned from Billy at some previous point, or learned from the Rangers, to be a little less even-headed, I guess would be the term there. So yeah, those were the main things that were pulled up. Again, I was really surprised to find out that there was no hatred for Alien Rangers, which I always thought people really hated the Alien Rangers, but that wasn't the case, and I was really surprised by that. And of course, I have two issues that I want to go ahead and kind of bring up regarding the Alien Rangers, and just the issues I found with it. Because again, it's one of my favorite seasons. What was really great about it was that every episode revealed something new. Something else was coming in. By the first episode, we have introduction to Alien Rangers. Then the Battleborgs in the next episode. Then Billy becomes his adult self. Then we have reveals the Zeo quest. The Rangers go on the Zeo quest. Aisha is stuck in Africa. Every episode, something new was happening to progress the story, and you were always excited to find out what was happening next. So I really liked that. I thought that part of it was great. And let's be honest, that is the best season cliffhanger Power Rangers has ever done. The command center exploding, I was really blown away by it as a kid. I still think it's interesting and great now. And really, with the format the Power Ranger seasons are going now, there are no season-ending cliffhangers. Except like in Samurai, but that really wasn't a cliffhanger, I guess. Just like stay tuned for the next set of episodes and all that. But yeah, best cliffhanger in all of Power Rangers. Maybe I'm part of best of both worlds. we'll see and all that, but it was really surprising because you didn't know what was going to happen next. Because this was an age before Air Knight, before we knew about O-Ranger and stuff. So all of it was really surprising, and that worked out great. But the two issues that I wanted to point out that really kind of bugged me about it was one, Third Rock from the Sun type of goofiness we got from the Alien Rangers. Because every time you have those things where the Rangers will come in and, or aliens come in from another planet and they're like, oh, what is this? We don't have this on our planet, blah, 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 and all this. And then, fish out of water kind of thing. The thing that always kind of got me was, again, the car wash. I think it was from Along Came a Spider. They're walking through it, they hydrate, and yet they get like black smudges on their face, which I don't get. And then the Tangas follow them, and they get caught in the machines, and it was funny, but it was really kind of goofy, and, they're eating the popsicles, I think, in one episode, and I think one of them gets a brain freeze or something. It is just that Third Rock goofiness, like they don't understand alien culture, they don't understand what's going on. So, it was unusual, it was strange. It didn't take a big bulk of it, it just that they did treat the Alien Rangers, I think, with the dignity that they garnered. Because think about this for a second. What if their situation was reversed? What if the Alien Rangers were turned into children by a Hydro Hog on their planet and the Mighty Morphin Rangers had to go save them? Well, I don't think our Rangers would get into this type of strange goofiness kind of thing on their planet. It's only when aliens come to Earth is when they get into this weird goofiness, I don't understand what's going on kind of thing. So that bugged me, just these Third Rock antics without John Lithgow, basically. But if John Lithgow was an Alien Ranger, that would be awesome. Now, just the last thing I want to kind of point out about the Alien Rangers, this is something that really did bug me. I still don't have an answer on it, and I haven't found anybody that really has an answer either. But if you have one, please let me know. But it's the whole timeline issue. Now, what I want to know is, did they go back to the 80s and change history, or was an alternate 1995? Because here's what I'm saying. The Mighty Morphin Rangers were always listed as the first Earth Rangers. Now, we know Kimberly went back in time with Wild West Rangers, and those were the first Power Rangers ever in Angel Grove in 1880, I think was the year they were in. So that she changed history there. The history books were definitely changed. Master Vile's thing, which has something to do with the rotation of the Earth, which we all know is nonsense because of Superman and all that kind of stuff. Did he... Because here's the thing. It's not like the Rangers traveled from where they were in the carnival back to where they were in the 1980s. The house they grew up in, the place they were at the time. Angel Grove High School has been converted to an elementary school. Now, this is, Zed did the same thing where it was very clear they didn't go back in time. He just changed reality to make everybody younger and for the surroundings to fit it. I want to know if this is the same thing, because what's odd is when I actually look at some of the civilians, they are completely different civilians than we normally see in the Power Rangers background, and they do look like they're kind of dressed in late 80s fashion. Especially like when the Alien Rangers first reveal themselves as reporters, she has that weird hair. Her hair is like really big and stuff, and she does look like she's from the 80s. But the rest of it doesn't seem to fit that way. So again, did Vile actually send him back in time to an alternate past, or did he just change reality to where everybody was a child? Because even look at Lieutenant Stone, he's in his car, and in the very next shot, he's a child in the car still. So, yeah, I'm just really confused about that, and they didn't seem to put a lot of time and effort into doing that. That's why I'm saying they should have done something other than make them children, because it would make a little bit more sense, I think. If the Rangers were kidnapped, then you can have the rest of the Earth the way they are and them reacting to, oh no, where are the Power Rangers? We need help, and the Alien Rangers show up. But for them to basically go 5-10 years in advance to when aliens were first discovered, that's a fundamental shift that changes the perception of the world. To where the events in... Really, I mean, if they actually went back in time and changed history, then everything from Mighty Morphin up to that point should have been changed fundamentally in some way because of the introduction of aliens, the way the military would go ahead and react, the way people would go ahead and react. I mean, because if they actually went back in time, Zach and Trini and Jason, they should have never acted the way they did when they first saw Zordon in disbelief that there are aliens. Because that's kind of what it was. They were in disbelief. Because if the Alien Rangers actually existed back in the 80s when they were growing up, then they should readily accept, oh, Power Rangers? We're going to be new Power Rangers? This is awesome. So it can't be a time travel thing. I really don't believe that it's a time travel thing. It has to be an alternate 1995. But they never state that in the series. They don't explain it well enough, and that's what bothers me, is that a lot of things like Back to the Future, Star Trek, all those guys take great care in what they're doing with their time travel, most of the time on Star Trek. But in this, they're really just kind of making up as they go, and you really wonder if any of the writers are familiar with the theory of time travel and the kind of things that it does. So yeah, that was like the biggest issue for me. I still don't think we have an explanation for it yet. Time travel has made a little bit more sense later on in Power Rangers, maybe because we got a different writer who understood the concept. But for the writers we had at the time, somebody should have showed them Back to the Future before they decided to go ahead and do this. So, well, those are my comments that I have about the Alien Rangers, kind of responses to a number of things said in Ranger Board. I do apologize to those people on Ranger Board that probably haven't made comments yet. Simply because I want to kind of get this done quickly, because now that I see that I have an audience here, I wanted to start making things for them. But you guys gave me plenty to talk about. I've talked for over 30 minutes now about the Alien Rangers, so I'm really glad that we got something to go ahead and talk about. So I'm going to go ahead and call that a day for the podcast. I do want to thank you guys for listening. If you have any other topics that you would like for me to go ahead and discuss, please list them in the comments below. And of course, if you want to contact me directly, my email will be available at the end of the video. So again, thank you all for listening today. Have a wonderful afternoon, and the tavern is now closed.